Rock the Ripple. Rock the Ripple. The Rock the Ripple Podcast with Narita McInnes.
Let's do this. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rock the Ripple podcast. I'm your host, Narita McInnes. It is so awesome to be here with you as always. And today is another very special day because I have a very special guest on the show. He is the host of Waydes World Podcast. He is a shadow worker. He is a bridge between two worlds, opening the minds and souls of many. He is an awesome human coming all the way from New Zealand. He is the one and only Waydos. Waydos, welcome to the show.
Oh, kia ora, kia ora. Thank you for that. Jesus, that was an intro and a half. You blew my mind there.
Yeah. welcome. I've got to bring it all together. Welcome the man to the show.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate the invitation to have me on too. Yeah, there was no ifs or buts. As soon as you asked, yep, there we go. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Let's just start where we always do at the start of a podcast. And for those who may not know you and, who is this guy on my screen? Give us a bit of an intro and a bit of your story and just wherever you want to take us, basically.
Yeah, sweet. Well, first of all, my whole name, so everyone knows, and it's no word of a lie, is Wayde Freeman. So I was born as a free man, and I'm going to stay a free man for the rest of my life. So that was, it starts off straight from birth, really. I've never been one that's been asleep to the world. I've always been aware. I've always been the kid that was a little bit different. Always got in trouble at school for asking the whys, the whats, the every other question that they didn't want you to ask. So was always labeled sort of the bad child, or the child that probably had ADD or something like that couldn't sit still and things like that. But I guess at the end of the day, who I am is built on who I was as a child, and I guess just being aware of the world. And I've always been aware of the world, like I said. So I don't see it any different than I've always seen it. But I see it completely differently to how everyone else sees it. So I guess that's the easiest way to explain myself. I know it's a little bit of a broad assumption, but it's the easiest way. I'll be honest, I was very different to everyone else. So, and knowing that I'm an old soul too, as well, since I was very young, and knowing that I was always here for something else, and I always felt like growing up, I was either here too late or too early. That I felt like whatever I was here to do, I'd either missed or I was going to miss because I was here too late or too early. To obviously now realizing why I'm here. Being through post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression, for 10, 15 years of my life, because I could see the way the world was going, and I could see, what was happening to humanity and there was pretty much nothing I could do. It's sort of a bit about me. Yeah, like it's been a mixed journey of a life, really, but I wouldn't have it any other way. So I've experienced all facets of life that you could experience, from right at the top of good and to right at the bottom of being, right down the bottom. So I wouldn't have it any other way, though. It's made me who I am today. So
I can totally relate to that. Absolutely. Yeah. And so when you're talking, like, some people have had this awakening experience that's blown their mind through the way. It's kind of like you were born with that. So you've always had these different glasses that you've been wearing for other compared to other people, I guess.
Yeah. And it was always, since I've been studying the government corruption since I was 14.
Wow.
I was prior to sort of started to learn about that, I was seeing things, seeing entities and vibrational beings and things that were sort of, as a kid, made you shit scared because you didn't understand it. You didn't know what it was. No one, and of course you didn't really want to say anything, because if you did, no one knew what you were talking about anyway. So this is, I guess, the onset of post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety and depression too, because you've got to hold all this in. You can't speak to anyone about it. And just holding all this in. But yeah, I've definitely seen the world with a different set of eyes. And I'm learning that more and more every day as this awakening is happening as well for the rest of everyone else. Is, a lot of people, and we'll mention this quickly, a lot of people always come to me and they're like, oh, everyone's waking up too slow. They're waking up too slow. Like, man, if you guys have been awake 20 years ago and seen how many people have been waking up in the last 4 years, you'd be mind blown. It's actually amazing to see. You just have to look at it from a different perspective, and you can see the amazing things that are happening.
Yeah, it does blow your mind. Hey, like even just 10 years ago, there wasn't too many people, but I feel like it started to really gain momentum. And yeah, this last 4 years has been mental.
Yeah, it's a rocket ship. It's just taking off. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so phenomenal. You were talking about before about entities and being able to see things. Was this like things that you would be seeing in your mind's eye, or actually having these experiences of things being around you that you could pick up, or both, a mix of both?
Mix of both. Both in real, well, if you want to call it real time and dream time.
Yeah.
Just for the people out there that want to separate things, but I was seeing things on the daily, that were around me. I always had this one shadow that used to follow me all the time. Used to stand in my doorway when I was sleeping and things like that. And never really got a bad sense of it, but I was always nervous around it because I didn't understand it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know who it was or what it was doing. It was definitely one that always showed himself or herself to me, which I believe, through and through now, that it was my grandfather that's kept me awake the whole time. And then obviously in dreams as well. So I as a kid, I used to have a lot of not night terrors, but a lot of nightmares and things like that, or which you would class as nightmares. But now obviously I have a more understanding of what I was seeing back then. So I still sort of remember all the dreams and things that used to scare the shit out of me. So now it's now to see it from, again, as growing older and experiencing the world and understanding what's being placed in front of you, even in the dreamland, was was eye-opening as well. So I was seeing them in both realms.
So you must have done, you're saying you've had a lot of PTSD from that sort of thing along the way. Did that obviously you've done a lot of healing and a lot of work around that, the shadow work and that sort of stuff. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, man, I would have probably been maybe 15, 16 when I really felt like something wasn't quite right, with myself, but I had football, so I played league, and like league was my dream. So from 5 years old, all I wanted to do was play league for the Kiwis, like I didn't want to be an All Black like every other New Zealander did. I wanted to play league for the Kiwis. And that's what kept me going. So like you hear about all these, teenage suicides and things like that. And I believe that it was rugby league that kept me alive, because it allowed me to sort of release all that shit on a Tuesday night, on a Thursday night, and then on a Saturday, like playing those games and releasing that tension and that built up anger and things like that were all inside. And in all honesty, I carried that until I was, I would have been 31, 32. And I was actually living in Wynnum, Australia, in Brisbane. And I got home invaded with a dude with a double barrel sawn-off shotgun at 1 o'clock in the morning, and woke me up, gun to the head. He was cracked out of his brain. He was looking for drugs and stuff like that. I didn't have anything in the house of anything that was worth it for him anyway. And it was sort of at that moment that it was at that moment that there was this moment that I was standing in my doorway in my bedroom, and he was standing just in the hallway there, and I looked at him, and because I'd been going through this depression and that, I was just surviving at this point in time. I was just living, like existing would be probably the best way to put it. And I remember saying to him, I was like, you think I'm scared of that? Like, fuck, I want to do that. If you're going to pull the trigger for me, that's fucking better off. Do it. Like, it was no matter. But there was a moment when he pulled his finger from the side of the gun, and I always remember this, the side of the gun, and pulled it down to the trigger. And that was the moment, like when they say your life flashes before your eyes, your life flashes before your eyes. Every moment in that moment, just there's nothing else. There's just your life is going at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And then that was the moment I went, I want to live, and that's the moment that changed everything. I was happy, like I was lucky enough to have a set of spare keys in my drawer, which was right next to me. So I put my hand in there, grabbed them, had a, at the time, a $30,000 BMW. So I said, here, take it. Like, fuck it, piss off, go away. Got him out the door, got out of there. And it was from that moment on that I realized that I had to stop playing victim, because the more I kept playing victim, the more the shit just kept happening to me. And that I wanted to live. And that in order to live, I had to stop being in this victim mentality. And that, now that I look back on that, which happened, about 8 years ago now, that's what ended up making me, be the person I am today, because it brought me out of that hole. It actually brought me out of the hole. So, when people say to me, fuck, you've been through some shit, like it put me through it to take me to somewhere else, and I had to understand that later. But the post-traumatic stress disorder and all that was just a compound of just knowing and watching humanity crumble in front of you and not being able to do anything. And then when you do say something, people don't even want to hear you because they don't believe it. And, so you just shut up, and then you go into like I said, the deep depressions and things like that. And then obviously I had a big trigger event to get me back out of it. So, it was just one of those things. It was a big trigger. It was either I died today or I'm going to continue living. So I chose to continue to live.
Far out, Wayde. That is just so powerful. It's such a powerful story. And, being able to look back and see it for the catalyst moment that you needed at that time to really pull you up from the rock bottom that you were at. That is just so powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, it was it needed to happen though, like it just, it is what it is. I don't hold any grudge to it. I don't hold any of that to it. It just, I needed a boot up my ass, and it needed a big one. So in order for me to, and I will say it's helped out so much with what I'm doing today too, because now that I've already faced my death, like what else do you have to fear?
Yeah.
It's already been put into my face, so I've got nothing else to fear. So when I speak out in that, there's no inch of fear, like towards anything. Like whatever happens from here on out. Like I've already dodged death once or twice, so we're good.
Yeah. I love that. That is so cool. That is so cool. There's just, I think those moments as well, like everyone has different things that happen along in their life, and they might have these really big catalyst moments like you did, or there might be, you've got a visitor. That all good?
Carry on. No, sorry.
No, it happened to me the other day. So
you're all right.
All good. Yeah. And but it is those moments that can really pull you out. And I guess sometimes the further you are in the hole, I guess, so to speak, you need those bigger moments just to rip you out. And we all have different parts of our journey where we might have littler things along the way, or we just have this massive moment where it just slaps you in the face. And yeah, but you could have gone two ways too. And that's the thing. Like, I love how you said that, you don't want to live in that victim mindset anymore. And that is such a thing that I think humanity is going through as a collective as well. Like, the more we're in victimhood, the more we can't stand in our power and be who we are, because we're putting things outside of us as well. But when we stand in our power and know who we are, that's when we can make amazing changes in the world. And obviously it's starting within. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And that's what I tell everyone. The most powerful the most powerful thing to do on this journey is just to remember who the fuck you are, like it's the most powerful thing, because once you remember that, then everything else becomes easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Easy.
Yeah, you saying that for some reason. So at the end of for people who aren't following Waydos on Instagram yet, at the bottom of pretty much every post, you always write, remember who the fuck you are. And for some reason, and I don't know how it happened, that line has like connected with the number 144 for me. So every time, just recently that's happened. And so every time I see 144 now, even though I've got other understandings of it as well, I just like in my head, remember who the fuck you are. So thanks for that.
Yep. And that 144 being a 9, it makes it divine too. So you see just the beginning and the end.
Yeah. Well, since we're talking about numbers, something that you have on your Instagram as well, 369. We know the power of 369, but I reckon you should chinwag a bit about that for people and get into it. Are you excited?
Oh, it's a deep one. It's a deep hole when you start going down the 369 hole. It's something that, like I've taken classes on, and it's a I take them on a journey over about a month's time to really get it and get them understanding it. But I take them right back to the basics of the binary code. So to understand how the mathematics of the world works, how the like gematria and like the geometric patterns and things like that, it's actually breaking it right back down to the mathematics of the binary code, so which is just ones and zeros. So ones and zeros are the easiest way I put this world and to break it down to those numbers in the binary world is we live in an analog world, like up, down, left, right, blue, red, for instance, two opposite sides of the spectrum, on, off, everything's a 1 and a 0, so it's the same thing as the way that a computer runs as well. And the more that you start breaking down these computers and these genetic and these sacred geometries and stuff like that, you start to find that all the maths always leads you to most of the time, or 99.9% of the time, you end up with a 9. So, and the 9 is a lot of people always ask you why the 9. So the 9 is the divine. The 9 is the beginning and the end. So everyone looks at 8, they look at 8, they use the 8 for the you got to turn that side on, that becomes the infinity symbol, past, present, future. But on the negative side of that 8, it's also the soul trap. So there's two sides to every number as well, and that's why the 9 is the beginning and the end. Because the 9 is the divine, so it's who we are. It's what we're made up of. We're made up of carbon 12 molecules, which are made up of, again, we go down the line of numerology again. We're made up of the carbon 12, which is made up of 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, and 6 protons, hence where the 666 comes from. You add those 6 together, gives you 18, gives you 9 again. We are the divine. We are the source that they don't want us to know that we are the source. And then this is why they keep us in fear and stuff like that, because they need us to manifest the world they want to exist. So I call it resourcing the source. So they're putting fear into us, which changes our coding. We change the coding of the realm that we're in, or we're changing the numerology of the world that we're living in at this point in time, and then we'll shift from positive to negative depending on where we go. But the 3, the 6, and the 9, obviously, I suggest everyone just go and take a deep dive into it, because it will start expanding your mind. It's a lot to explain in a little bit, but it's written into everything. It's written into your chakras. It's written into planets. If you don't, whatever you want to call them, it's written into our space time as well. So it's pretty much part of the matrix as such. But the binary code itself is back to front, and that's the problem, is we live in an inverted world. So everything that we read right now is back to front, and even in numerology. So hence why I sort of teach numerology, so people can understand how to speak to. You can speak to the world around you. You can speak to the ether around you by using numerology, by coding. a lot of the original languages that we believe humanity first spoke is all numerology. Hebrew itself is numerology itself. You know, all those old languages. So yeah, it's a deep hole, and it takes a lot of understanding. But it's one of those ones where people just need to take their time with and start to read into numbers, and then once they start speaking to the ether around them and the world around them and start speaking in numbers, the rest will come to you. It'll start speaking to you. So yeah, it's when everyone starts to understand 369, they'll start to understand the universe.
Nikola Tesla talks about it a lot as well, you know, so there's
Absolutely
there. Yeah. So
yeah.
you do a course on that, don't you?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Have you got one coming up at the moment, or
not at the moment? We just finished one. It was about a week ago now. We just finished the last one. But just for everyone out there, there are, the courses are available to be bought as well, so you can buy them. As an afterthought, if there's some people that come and we'll just get all four and sit down and watch all four at once, pretty much. And but each episode's about an hour and a half long. I don't like to overdo people's minds, because we don't want anyone losing their shit or splitting their mind at the moment.
not anymore that they already are?
No.
No, that's awesome. That's we'll link it at the end in the description. So I'll get all of those details from you so people can just look it up. That'd be awesome.
Perfect. Thank you.
Love it. Yeah, I've always been fascinated with numbers, and I know there's just so much more to it. Like you said, like it's just you take time, and what it means at the time to you as well, it helps expand and grow you. Like it might have meant something else at one point, and then you learn more. So there's always layers, isn't there?
Yeah. There's layers on layers on layers, and there's different ways of reading everything. So, but the one thing, just so that everyone that is watching this, you understand, the true numbers are only numbers 1 to 9. So the 0 doesn't mean anything. It's a man-made manipulated number. And then from 9 onwards is man-made as well from there on out. So yeah, 1 to 9 is the true numbers.
Yeah. Remember who the fuck you are.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So there's so much I know where we can go right now. And I do have some notes and things, but before I do that, is there anything on your heart right now that you just feel like talking about right now?
Anything on my heart right now?
Doesn't matter if there isn't.
Not really. I guess actually, it's more about where we are at this point in time, and I guess for Australia and New Zealand, we're both in these points of Aussie, you've got the yes no vote coming, right? We've got to look at that. And New Zealand, we've got an election coming. We're coming down to these points of no return as such. A point of no return, and I don't mean that it's not a point of no return. We can come back from if it went sideways, but I think people just need to actually step back, not be so emotionally attached to these situations. When people start making emotional decisions on these things, it curbs the true fact to it. I'm all for saying no to the Aussie thing. I'm not even voting in New Zealand because they can all go and get stuffed. For New Zealand, for me, these people took away our livelihoods and things, only 2.5 years ago. Why the hell why do I want to give them a job again? They want to take my job from me. Why should I give them a job? Even though that they're selected, not elected. It's kind of like, why do I even want to consent to them at all at this point in time, to the point in time where I'm turned to just walk away from the system? Have my straw man, have my fucking whatever, have that. I don't care for it. I am a living free man, and I will continue to be a free man. And that's the same with the, especially the stuff that's going on in Aussie at the moment, with the division. That's what they're trying to do. This is what the voice is about more than anything, is about creating division. It's divide and conquer.
Yeah.
We have it in New Zealand at the moment with this thing because of the Treaty of Waitangi, they're trying to bring in co-governance. The co-governance is actually about taking away from both sides, not actually giving to either, but it creates divisions. They can divide and conquer. And that's what these entities do, and once, when you read books like, The Art of War, you can see it a mile away, exactly the steps they're taking to divide us as a nation. Something like Australia and even New Zealand, we haven't been this divided in 50, 60 years, and we're seeing divisions that we shouldn't even be seeing today. And I guess what's on my heart is I just want people to take a step back and have a look at the bigger fucking picture going on, not just what the news is telling you, and that goes for a lot of the so-called freedom fighters out there, and the so-called truthers out there that like to, and I will mention this too, that like to say that they don't listen to the media and everything, yet as soon as the media drops something, they drop it just as fast. It's clickbait. And if you really want anything to do with the news, I suggest everyone go and just do a quick YouTube search and watch the Newsbenders. That was done in 1968. The Newsbenders in 1968, and you'll see exactly what they do. But it's just controlling both sides, and it ends up that some of these people end up being and I hate using the word, but a psyop on themselves.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's sort of where I'm at.
No, I feel you. And I think what you said too, like to be able to step back and look big picture, and be able to like look at the wine bottle from the outside and stand in a place of balance. And I think that's because the pendulum swings so much, and we've all been there where we've gone one way and we've gone the other way. But when I love what you said, when you can step back and try and look at everything big picture, that's when we can stand in our power, stand our truth, and just see things for the bit of the game that's being played,
Yeah, absolutely. And you see it at the moment. What I see at the moment too is like we've got this shift back to like a more spirituality kind of side rather than a religious side. And that's actually a division in itself, like we've actually got to somehow find the balance between the two. Like we're not going to go back to this indigenous world where we lived in mud huts and that, like it's just not. We've got houses everywhere, like they can't destroy everything, but we're also not going to be, obviously we also don't want to go the AI route and have a fall over with that kind of thing. So we've actually got to stop. People have gone one way, they've gone so far to spirituality, or they've gone so far to religion this way, or they're going straight for the science over here. Like just stop everything and just have a look around, and then like actually just look at it with an open mind rather than like, no, this is the only way, or this is the only way, because there's a million routes, but we just got to open each door.
Yeah, there are a million routes out there. Like, so for you then, like with everything that's going on, and where you're seeing things, and where you're at right now, basically, how do you see and sense and feel things playing out? Like I know that we'll never know for sure, but when you tap into your intuition and your heart, what does it feel like for you?
Well, at the moment, like I'm going to be completely honest, I feel like I'm in a very, I call it a holding pattern. I feel like I'm being held up right now.
Yeah.
It's just energetically just feels like I'm in this month to month rotation, like this merry-go-round, because I'm waiting for everyone to catch up. Like it's not quite, we're not quite there yet. And that's the truth of it. And it's not about waking people up. Like we already have enough people that are aware of what's going on in the world. It's just making those people who are aware more aware, and getting them to understand the depths of what they're actually in. It's working with what we've got already. And I guess too many people are focused on waking the next person up when in reality, it's like, yes, there's been a few of us that have had our jobs, early on to start waking up the world. But at this point in time, that's not your job anymore. You shouldn't be worrying about waking people up. people will wake up on their own, in their own time, from here on out, because if they haven't, through what's been done, they're either not going to wake up, or they're going to need something that's going to trigger them hugely in order to wake them up. But I think we need to concentrate on the people who are already awake and already are aware, and it's just about getting them. I think more it's about getting the people from behind the screens to, sort of standing and doing things in real life, crossing that line in the sand, and just not fearing anything. Because and it's what I tell most of my followers too, is that I want people to see what I see. Like, step over that line and you're going to see what I see, and you can see the world for how beautiful it is, but you can also see the world for you see both sides of it. So you sort of stand in the middle, and then once you realize that you shouldn't be standing in the middle and walking your own path, again, it makes life easier again, because it's just minimizing shit from your life. Like, nope, don't need that. Nope, don't need that. Nope, don't need that. But where I see things sort of going, and I always say this is we haven't seen the worst of the worst yet. We've got a financial collapse coming, which is going to obviously cause it's probably going to cause more than what we think, riots and all sorts. I'm hoping it doesn't get to that point. I manifest as best as I can not for that to happen, but if shit does hit the fan, that's where it's going, because people will want to eat and things like that, so it'll become a struggle. But the other thing I have to laugh at I laugh at it every day as well, is that the way the world is right now, the inflation that's going on, the cost of living, all this rising, yet people still get up and go to work. Like, if you going to your job sometimes isn't even putting a meal on your table at the end, you've just paid your rent and your power. So what's the point of getting up and slaving your ass off in a world that, not paying you enough to live? So, I'm hoping that sometimes soon people will understand that and start, staying at home. Because I think once we shut the economy down, we'll be good to go. It will be good to go there. So
so much there with everything you were saying. I think like that's one thing for me as well. I work with people to create what it is that we do want to create in our lives, and reprogramming our subconscious mind to show up what we want to show up. And a story, because you're in New Zealand, this isn't the one I was going to share, by the way, but I remember going to New Zealand, and this is probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and I've been waking up for quite a long time before that, but I had this feeling like, do I need to start this truth media channel and tell everyone what's going on? And so I asked for clarity when I got to, in New Zealand. And when I got there in the South Island, which was just freaking phenomenal, by the way, as you know, I just had this, that's not going to be the best use. Like, how may I best serve was a question as well. And it wasn't that, but I didn't have clarity on what it would be. And so I feel like for me, it's like coming up with the solution. Like, we know what the problem is. Now it's working on the solution. And when we're working with people who are awake and aware and they know what's going on, it's the power within. Like, we are the creators, like to your point before when you were saying as well, like we have, we're the ones who create. So when we're in a fear level, we are creating from that frequency. So if we want to create new, we need to create from a frequency of being aware of how freaking powerful we are. And the more of us doing that work, then that's just game on. That is game on. And that to me is how we shift consciousness. That's how we see the world blossom into the beauty and come back to what it already is, but just see more of that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a powerful thing to also ask, especially in the South Island too, like the spiritual connection and the connection to the rest of the world down in the South Island is massive. So the answers you're getting down there, you never question what they have to say. When I questioned myself down there, so I ended up in a place called White Cliff, which is the Valley of the Teachers.
Oh.
And this is where the Waitaha came in, and they used to bring down people from North America, South America, the witches from, or what they'd call the witches from up in Europe. We had Middle Eastern people come down, Egypt, Persia, all these people. They used to come down and learn in this valley, which is in Whitecliff in New Zealand, which is about 40 k's from Castle Hill, which is also what they used to call the birthplace of the gods. Not God as in singular, gods as in multiple. And the knowledge that is written into that land, like the coding of the whole world, like we're speaking about numerology before, the coding of the whole world is written into the land of the South Island, using Sanskrit. So it was written into the land and hidden. And the reason why it was hidden was because the witches and everyone were getting burnt and on the stake and everything up in Europe at that stage. So we actually went up there and saved, we called them the teachers and the children of the teachers, and brought them back to the South Island of New Zealand. And then obviously later on there was another arrival in New Zealand which caused a few wars and things like that, and we shifted them from the South Island to the North Island up in Waipua Forest, which is where I'm from. And it was funny, and I am getting to why I was talking about this story, but I went and visited back to Whitecliff, and it was funny because one of the kaumata was there, who's protector of the land. I had it, we'd been speaking quite a bit and sitting down with him, and then just as I was leaving, he turned to me, he goes, "Oh, I forgot to ask, bro." He goes, "Where'd you come from? Where do you come from?" I said, "Oh, the Waimamalku Marae and Opanoni in the Waipua, up in the Waipua Forest." And he did stopped in his tracks, like just stopped. And he had this weird look on his face, and I was like, "Oh, here we go. Like, what's my tribe done? Or what's, like, what have we done to annoy you? Or, and he just said to me, he goes, "Do you know what?" He goes, "You are the one that needs to speak the truth of New Zealand." And I said, "Well, why?" And he goes, "Because the prophecy spoke of the truth can't be spoken of the Waitaha and the truth of New Zealand until someone returned back from the north." I was the first one to return straight back from the north, from where from where it was, where we had kept them safe. So from there on out, this is where my journey's been, traveling up and down New Zealand, pretty much asking questions similar to what you've asked all over the country.
Wow, that's epic, isn't it?
It was like, here we go.
Far out. That is so. I get the full body goosebumps you would have got in that moment. That's for sure.
Oh, it's just like, and I guess this is the other thing that happens too, is you always go back to, well, why me? Why is it on my shoulders? But at the same time, I'm like, well, this is what I was born for. Like, let's go. Like, I've got no fear behind it. So, and being part Māori myself, and being very heavily rooted in this land here, that's that bridge between two worlds, that I talk about. I'm a bridge between, and I'm not being racist, but so people understand, I'm like a bridge between the white man and the Māori, like the indigenous and the British that came down here, so that's sort of where my bridge between, I've got to go both ways. So become that bridge and trying to make them work together.
Yeah, and just with the story you shared before, like, there's no way, like, I guess that experience wouldn't have happened, and that knowing that, I've faced death, so I know that this will, like, you can see looking back how everything is there for us, like everything, even though that we can go through the shittiest times, those things are there for us to help us on our journey into where we're supposed to be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You just, once you look back at but again, like I tell everyone, just stop thinking about everything else and go back and look at those times. That's it. You just got to be in a moment of silence, and you'll figure out the good in everything that's happened, because that's what we're here to do, learn lessons.
Absolutely. And we were talking off air about New Zealand, because it's just, I've been there once, like I said, and it was just phenomenal. Like I was saying, I've only ever had gone on the warm holiday, so I went on a cold holiday, and it was just freaking breathtaking. And I just seeing those mountains and just the snow, and it's just breathtaking. You can't explain it until you're there, because they just really take your breath away. And I remember feeling in different parts too, picking up on different energies. And there was one where I couldn't really put my finger on the energy. I didn't know if it was good, I didn't know if it was bad, well, what I was feeling into, but there was just a different feeling about it, and it was just epic. I would love to go again. I can't wait. And I remember having this experience in Lake Tekapo. So you know how up there you've got the big what are they called, microscopes, what are they called,
The
I guess
telescope.
yeah, so
Yep.
you can that night, my partner and I went up there, and unfortunately it was a bit cloudy, but I did get to have a really good look at Saturn. I'm like, is someone putting a picture in there? Because it was just right there. But what was really random was when we were coming up on the bus, I remember seeing these 4 cars in a row. It was dark, and they all were the exact same car, and they were driving so close to each other. And I learned that there's some sort of base around near there. Do you know much about that? Because I'll just never forget that as well.
Yeah, there's Waipua Spy Base is not far from there.
Yeah.
Waipua Spy Base. So it's pretty much just like your Aussie's Pine Gap, just a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
Well, a lot smaller than Pine Gap. Pine Gap's the biggest one in the world, but yeah, that's got satellites under it, and it takes in billions of data every day. Just from our cell phones and the frequencies and all sorts. So yep, that as far as I'm aware has been taken over by China at the moment too. So
Interesting.
yes, I did know. So obviously that's where the Five Eyes base is for New Zealand. I wouldn't really call them a whistleblower, but I was made contact with someone that was like a social media person for Five Eyes. And they were like, we've been living a conspiracy my whole life, and I didn't even know. And he pretty much spilled his guts on everything that he'd been doing. And we've released bits and pieces of it, but he's now missing at the moment.
Oh shit.
Well, he's not missing. I can find him if I have to, but he's missing in the eyes of everyone else. So
yeah.
We managed to get a little bit out, but we've been hit with we got hit with a $50 million lawyer case at one stage.
Oh really? Wow.
Yeah, if we didn't remove a podcast about the New Zealand water. So
wow.
We managed to get a little bit out of that, but yeah, that's apparently been taken over by China at this point in time. Hence why the other countries didn't want New Zealand to join back to the Five Eyes.
Wow, there's just so much there. So interesting that I brought that up too, and just the energy. Yeah, that's crazy. Oh, crazy.
There's also a lot of a lot of the celebrities buy their fallout shelters around Queenstown down in South Island.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, and the reason why they're down there is because that is a solid rock base. So if the earthquakes, they talk about the mud floods and things like that. If anything like that was to happen, they would be fine, because it's a solid rock base. So they wouldn't get flooded with mud or anything like that.
Yeah, right. So the whole way down it's solid rock, but moving all the time, like because that's how the mountains are formed, obviously. But
Yes.
Right. Wow, so fascinating, isn't it? It's such a cool place. There's just there's so much awesome in there, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And we'll be calling the South Island home very soon, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, can't wait. We'll have to do another podcast when you're there then,
Oh, you will, don't you worry. We'll make sure the mountains are in the back.
Yeah. I'll find a way to get over there. Let's do it in real life, because this place is epic. Yeah. Do you do the crazy stuff over there, like jumping, like bungee jumping and stuff like that?
No, I like my 2 feet solid on the ground. I never parachuted, and I ain't never been bungee jumping. I don't trust either.
Yeah.
No, thank you. I'll stick to my 4 wheels on my skateboard. That's enough.
Yeah, the skateboarding. So you have to skateboard park down at Queenstown skate park.
Yep.
Went
There's
on
a
that
few
one
down
too.
there. Yep,
Yeah,
there's a few down there. So I one of the deals was I don't mind moving to the South Island as long as there's a skate park nearby. So
yeah.
yeah, we make sure of that.
Yeah, well, my partner's a skateboarder as well, so he, like, when we went over, he packed the skateboard just to be able to do that. So it's
Yeah, you
awesome.
gotta.
It's a great sport. I wish I could do it, but you're so in the moment, aren't you? Like,
Yes.
and it's one of those, like, I could watch it for ages. To me, it's like meditation.
Yep.
But just like, and it teaches you resilience. It teaches you, you fall, you get back up again. That's life.
Yep, it's exactly it, and that's what it's persistence, resilience. It's why I pretty much skateboard every day. It's to bring me back to the here and now. Because if I'm not in the here and now while I'm standing on that skateboard, I'm going to get hurt.
Yeah.
So it forces you to come back to the now. And block out all this other noise. And that's what it really does for me. Is just keeps me centered. Like you said, it's meditation.
Yeah, it does. It keeps you centered. Anything that can get you doing that's the shit. That's where the magic happens, isn't it? Because
Absolutely.
you can't do anything else.
Nah.
If you did decide to bungee jump, I'm pretty sure that you'd have that kind of moment too, but you don't need to.
No, thank you. No,
No,
thank
no,
you.
no. I think there's a lot of people who's agreeing with you on that one.
Yeah.
Oh, far
Does
out.
that anyway.
Oh, far out. So what else do you want to share while we're hanging out? Because is there anything else you want to chat about? Because I feel like there's so much that I could.
There's a lot. It's
Yeah.
hard. I just go wherever we're sort of directed to go. But like I said, when you asked before about what was on my heart and things like that, I think that's the biggest thing for people out there, and I just want people to know that everything is going to be okay. Like, we've got to go through these moments, and this is just our moment that we've got to go through in our history. It's all these events happen that combine to make our human history one. And I think the other thing is also to stop, I guess, for people out there as well, to just stop the whole we are one thing, because yes, we are one consciousness at the end of the day and things like that, but we are individuals as well. And when we're all going, oh, we've got to be one, we don't want to be a bunch of robots and a bunch of sheep again. Like, we've got to use our individuality to create the collective consciousness that we want, and that's to go out and learn the things that I might individually learn something that you don't know, and then you know something that I don't know, and so forth. And that's how we come together as individuals. So I guess I want people, like I always say, to remember who they are, to remember who the fuck they are actually, and to and go out and be them, and then bring that goodness back to the collective when it's needed. Don't do things just because society tells you to do them. Look outside the box. It's humanity's got so much good things going for it. We just have to see it and just see it for what it is, rather than being in this perpetual cycle of fear. So that's sort of where I want to share. I just want people to know that we're going to be okay, and as long as we stay on our own 2 feet and we don't crawl on out of here.
Yeah. Well, we're all pieces of the puzzle, aren't we? Like, I really like that is such a beautiful point to make, because I think a lot of us, we've like been conditioned to try and be the same in society, and like, yes, big picture, we are all one and we are connected, but we're here to have an individual experience. I wasn't born as Waydos. I was born as Narita, so I can experience life as Narita, and however that looks for me. And same with you. And I love what you said as well too, like, we're here I'll learn my bits and you'll learn yours, and that's how we share, and that's how we co-create. And things like the AI, they can't create. What we can do is we can create. And so we're so freaking powerful. And when we remember that, I mean, that's where the beauty is. And we keep, like, stepping into our power more and more. And I think that is what is exciting for what's to come, because, you know, us remembering that and just going, oh, fuck it, I don't want to worry about this shit anymore. I'll just, you know, so many of us have different things and paths that we've walked, but, you know, we can keep looking at it, or we can go, all right, I know it's there, I'm aware of it, I want to change it. How will I do that? I'll do it myself, I'll do it within, and I'll do it with others, you know, like, and I'll show up my way. And that's, yeah. So I guess in a nutshell, you were saying be yourself. And I think that's who we need to be as well. Yeah.
Yep. I think too many people out there worry about being the same as the next dog, you know, or being the same as you know, they don't want to upset, you know, the rotation of society or anything like that. Well, you know, some of us are here to upset the rotation of society. Some of us are here to, you know, I always say that I was sent here to step on people's toes and tell them it's time to move, you know, like, and I guess that's where, you know, again, people also take me, you know, they can take me either way, you know, because I'm so just straight down the middle. I don't care if I stand on your toes. I don't care if I've offended you. I don't care if what you think is offensive, you know, what you think that I've said is offensive, because you know, at the end of the day, like, I'm just speaking what, you know, the truth that I know. And putting forth, and my intentions behind it are pure. My intention behind everything is not even, it's got nothing to do with me. It's got nothing to do with you. It's got nothing to do with the man next door. It's got to do with the generations to come. You know, that's what I worry about. I worry about, you know, my nieces and nephews, their kids, their grandkids, you know, and things like that. Like, are we going to sit here and roll over like dogs and then allow them to just control us? Or are we going to stand up and hand over the land and the knowledge that we've learned in these times to the generations to come, so they can live in a world of freedom that we didn't have, you know? And that's, you know, that's what I do this for. It's never been about me. It's never been about anyone else. It's always been about what I can give when I'm gone.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that so much. It's just, yeah, that's beautiful, Waydos. I love it. And you're right, it's the intention behind it. I think that is the power and the key to so much of everything. It's where we're coming from. It's you're coming from a place of purity. You're coming from a place of wanting to make a difference. It's not what's in it for me. It's what's in it for what's to come, you know? So, yeah.
No, absolutely. It's you know, and that's what people sometimes don't see with me, you know, is that, you know, because I do get annoyed, and I'm not gonna lie. I'm on both sides of the scales, you know. I can go from being fucking Mr. Nice Guy to probably the biggest asshole you've ever met in your life, you know. But I'm just gonna say it how it is, whether I, you know, like I said to you, whether I stand on your toes or not. You know, my opinion, and I've always said this, is, you know, like with my close mates, you know, I'd rather my mates tell me I'm a fucking asshole than someone else tell me I'm not, because I'm going to listen to him and I'm going to be like, all right, I got to change some shit, you know, like, because I'm that type of person or whatever. So I'd rather hear it from someone that I know, or that that actually gives a shit about me, because then I actually know that they give a shit about me, to say, hey, look, you know, you're being a dick over here, or you know, so and so over here, or whatever, and then I can change that, you know. But I'm going to straight shoot every time, you know. I'm not gonna bend my bullet, because, you know, it might hurt your feelings, you know. It just is what it is. And if I've hurt your feelings, again, just like everyone else, you know, go and ask yourself why your feelings are hurt from what I've said. I'm a shadow worker, so I'm going to trigger you no matter what.
Yeah. And I love your directness, Wade. Also, to me, I love knowing where I stand with someone, you know, so it's really cool. But to what you're saying as well, too, like, if you know, you piss someone off in the wrong way, you've got a friend who can say, hey, mate, like, you respect that opinion, and you go there, because you're not trying to be an asshole on purpose. You're coming from that pure place. So, and sometimes we need to be able to be mirrored, and it's the shadow self as well, like you were saying too. Like, if something does piss you off, the first thing to always do is look at, well, why did that piss me off? like, what is it in me that needs to be looked at and healed? And like, there's also that fine line to be discerning with yourself too. Like, maybe that guy was just a wanker, or, you know, like, you gotta be able to and that's why self-awareness is so key as well, isn't it?
Yeah, because some people, like, I say it again, just to add, I say it many times over to a lot of people over there. You know, once we start to work out what's going on in the world, not everyone's going to continue loving everyone. You know, we're still going to have people that disagree, and people that don't like such and such because their energy is different to this person's energy. Like, you know, it's just about finding, again, the balance in the world. You know, we've got to find that balance, being able to agree to disagree and things like that, and be able to not go to war over a disagreement or things like that. That's far better than, you know, go home, call them an asshole, all good. It's better than going to war, you know. So yeah, I think that's something else that we have to have a realistic view at what the world's going to be like too, and it's not just going to be all love and light. You know, it's we've got to find the middle road, so the yin and yang.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, because we do live in a world of duality. So it's not like it's going to be sunshine and lollipops when everyone's sort of like on the same page. We all have our different, like you said, energies. We resonate with different people. Some of us like skateboarding, some of us like scootering. Like, you know, there's always going to be different. But if we can agree to disagree, that's where the harmony comes in, and not having to go to war. Love that.
Yeah, don't want no more loss of lives. You know, we're gonna have enough coming. So and I think that's something else that people have to be prepared for out there too, that there is going to be more. We've already had excess. You know, I don't speak about this very often anymore, but you know, we've already had an excess death through 2023. So something else humanity has to be prepared for is just, you know, we're going to be burying more of our loved ones, and it's just something that people have to accept and be prepared to do when time comes, when the push comes to shove. But it's yeah, unfortunately, it is what it is.
Yeah, we've got to walk the path we chose to be here at this time. And so, you know, knowing ourselves and remembering who the fuck we are, that's key, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Just remembering that's, you know, your ancestors have been through everything. Your family, your DNA's traveled thousands of years to be where it is today. So just know that, yeah, at the end of the day, everything's within. Everything's within.
It is. Couldn't have said it better myself. Love it. Everything is within. Waydos, it has been so bloody awesome chatting with you. How can people find you? Where can they find you?
Oh, easiest place to find me is just on Instagram. So Waydos, WAYDOS _ is my, you know, my main page. And we have Waydes World NZ. So that's WAYDES.World NZ on Instagram as well. I don't do Facebook or anything. One social media is enough for me. So
yeah,
that's it. And also Waydes World on YouTube as well. There's about 10 or 11 episodes up at the moment that are live there. I've got about 30 odd episodes on Spotify as well. So Waydes World on Spotify. And they will be added to in a coming time shortly as well.
Awesome. That is so cool. And you've got your course as well. So for you listening, thank you so much for tuning in, by the way. Hope you've loved this conversation as much as I know I have, and I'm sure you have too, Waydos, I hope.
Absolutely. Loved it.
Absolutely. I'll link everything in the description. So if you want to connect with Wayde, if you want to jump on the course, anything like that, that'll all be in the description. But yeah, so thank you for being here. If you haven't subscribed, by the way, do that. Subscribe to the channel. Give it a review on anywhere you listen to podcasts as well, if that rings your bells. Waydos, thank you so much for being here on the show. It's been so awesome chatting with you. Just thanks again.
No, thank you. And again, thank you for having me on and asking me to be part of your podcast. And you know, like I said, once I get mine back around, we'll do a reverb, and we'll catch you on my one. So I could ask you some of the hairy questions too. But no, thank you, and appreciate the time given and being able to sit down and listen to me also. So thank you very much. And to everyone else out there, thank you guys for sitting here and listening to us chat away. And I hope that, you know, there was something in there that you each could take away from it.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, Waydos.